So I had to give up. I had to go and lay down because my back went south and was way too painful. So, one day later, I think, I got the thing all finished up and mounted and ready to go and tried to get it to run. It turned out that that motor that I put in was actually already damaged. The timing belt had been put on wrong and the valves were all bent. That meant I had to take the head off, and I put the head off of the motor that I took out of the car back onto the 1.6 block, which was great. I got it all on, then I had all these issues trying to resolve the starting problem. It wouldn't start. Turns out, if you look real careful down here, there's a little switch there, and that yellow wire was actually on an earth instead of that yellow wire. So once I switched those wires over, all of a sudden the computer got the right signal to allow the fuel to pump through the injectors instead of having no fuel coming through the injectors. Yes, Zorro, we hear you. So now, I think it was almost midnight when I completed my task, but we now have this sound if it works. Oh yeah, can you hear it? Can you hear it? So it still needs some tuning. Still needs a little bit of work because it's got lumpy cams and no tuning for it. But I've got it working, and so now we have our car back on the road, and that's mad. It goes better than ever. Yep. So let me tell you a little bit about what I have done or had to do to make this all work. Now you probably can't see very well, but the gearbox down there and the engine don't actually meet up flush, so I had to figure out another way to put some bolts in here and there and make it work. And over the back here, which you won't be able to see because it's under the intake, there was an engine mount that went between the gearbox and the engine, and the gearbox side of things bolted up, no worries, obviously, because it's the same gearbox that was in there. But the engine was casted differently, had some different bolt holes. They were about an inch off. So I had to make a plate to go between two bolt holes, and then in the plate have a bolt going through to the engine mount to steady that. So along with my bracket that I made and this little engine steer that goes onto the strut bar, the engine's actually sitting quite firm and looks pretty snazzy. So all in all, I think it's gone pretty well. It was a mission. The next thing to go will be the gearbox. I'm not looking forward to that because that won't be fun when it lets go. It'll be a bit of a mess. But it's a Chino gearbox, not a GTI box, so it's not very strong. And open diff, nothing special, long gear ratios. It doesn't go very well with the high revving nature of this engine, so I would prefer to have a GTI gearbox in there. That would be mad, because then everything would just work the way that it's supposed to. It'd be really good. Tomorrow, I'm going to go on a little drive with the family in the newly positioned engine. I wouldn't say refurbished necessarily. It did have, from what I can tell, it has forged 1mm oversized pistons in it, which theoretically means that I could run a turbo on this thing if I wanted to and get it all tuned up and whatnot. It'd be great. I've got a better engine that I had to begin with. It runs very, very smooth now, very smooth. It's quite nice. Just needs that tuning because it's idling a little low. Lumpy cams make that happen, but between figuring out the timing so it doesn't ping at low revs or high revs and getting the throttle position sensor lined up right, not a lot more adjustment you can do besides adjusting the accelerator cable. which is less preferable than just getting it to work properly without having to do that. But it may be a necessary evil if nothing else works. So we will see. I gave the car a wash and then took it for a drive. It's a dumb idea. Wash the car, get dust on it immediately. Yeah, whatever. It does look a lot better than it did when I was doing all the work, because it was sitting in the wind and the dust for way too long. Car's done for now. So I don't know if you can see too well, but this is a little bit of irrigation I had to rig up because we have no water up here in Jerry's Plains. Just a little bit of river water. And of course, when you don't have the right little setup for your irrigation, you got to figure it out. If you have one hose line and a sprinkler and a sprinkler and a sprinkler, then as it goes along, you get less and less pressure per sprinkler. So what I ended up doing instead was like a fuel rail with a return line. I had hose and then split it off in a V. So you had one hose to a sprinkler, hose to a sprinkler, hose to a sprinkler, and then returning back to the V. So you had equal pressure the whole way through the line, and now all three sprinklers have the same equal pressure. Yeah, it's mad. It worked really well. What's up, Zorro? What? You got something to whinge about? Hmm? Yep, so anyways, I hope you enjoyed the conclusion of the little Swift. It runs, it needs a tune, it's mad, it's quick, and it'll do the job. So, here we go. Give us a thumbs up if you watched this, because somehow that helps me. Yeah, and subscribe if you've watched it, because that's cool too, and share it with your friends, and it'll be mad. Catch ya.